The whole group rose up and took Jesus before Pilate, where they began to accuse him.
"We caught this man misleading our people, telling them not to pay taxes to the emperor and claiming that he himself is the Messiah, a king."
Pilate asked him,
"Are you the king of the Jews?"
So you say.
Then Pilate said to the chief priests and the crowds,
"I find no reason to condemn this man."
but they insisted even more strongly.
With his teaching, he is starting a riot among the people all through Judea. He began in Galilee and now has come here.
When Pilate heard this, he asked,
"Is this man a Galilean?"
When he learnt that Jesus was from the region ruled by Herod, he sent him to Herod, who was also in Jerusalem at that time. Herod was very pleased when he saw Jesus, because he had heard about him and had been wanting to see him for a long time. He was hoping to see Jesus perform some miracle. So Herod asked Jesus many questions, but Jesus made no answer. The chief priests and the teachers of the law stepped forward and made strong accusations against Jesus. Herod and his soldiers mocked Jesus and treated him with contempt. They put a fine robe on him and sent him back to Pilate.
Pilate called together the chief priests, the leaders, and the people.
"You brought this man to me and said that he was misleading the people. Now I have examined him here in your presence, and I have not found him guilty of any crimes you accuse him of. Nor did Herod find him guilty, for he sent him back to us. There is nothing this man has done to deserve death. So I shall have him whipped and let him go."
At every Passover festival, Pilate had to set free one prisoner for them. The whole crowd cried out,
"Kill him! Kill him! Set Barabbas free for us."
Barabbas had been put in prison for a riot that had taken place in the city and for murder. Pilate wanted to set Jesus free, so he appealed to the crowd again, but they shouted back,
"Crucify him!
Crucify him!"
Pilate said to him for the third time,
"But what crime has he committed? I cannot find anything he has done to deserve death. I shall have him whipped and set him free."
But they kept on shouting at the tops of their voices that Jesus should be crucified. And finally, their shouting succeeded. So Pilate passed the sentence on Jesus for which they were asking. He set free the man they wanted, the one who had been put in prison for riot and murder, and he handed Jesus over for them to do as they wished.
The soldiers led Jesus away, and as they were going, they met a man from Cyrene named Simon, who was coming into the city from the country. They seized him, put the cross on him, and made him carry it behind Jesus. A large crowd of people followed him. Among them were some women who were weeping and wailing for him. Jesus turned to them and said,
"Women of Jerusalem, don't cry for me, but for yourselves and your children. For the days are coming when people will say, 'How lucky are the women who never had children, who never bore babies, who never nursed them.' That will be the time when people will say to the mountains, 'Fall on us,' and to the hills, 'Hide us.' For if such things as these are done when the wood is green, what will happen when it is dry?"
2 other men, both of them criminals, were also led out to be put to death with Jesus.
When they came to a place called the Skull, they crucified Jesus there and the 2 criminals, one on his right, the other on his left. Jesus said,
"Forgive them, Father, they don't know what they are doing."
They divided his clothing among themselves by throwing a dice. The people stood there watching while the Jewish leaders jeered at him.
"He saved others. Let him save himself, if he is the Messiah whom God has chosen."
The soldiers also mocked him. They came up to him and offered him cheap wine and said,
Save yourself if you are king of the Jews.
Above him were written these words:
This is the King of the Jews.
One of the criminals hanging there hurled insults at him.
Aren't you the Messiah? Save yourself and us.
The other one, however, rebuked him, saying,
Don't you fear God? You received the same sentence he did. Ours, however, is only right because we are getting what we deserve for what we did. But he has done no wrong.
And he said to Jesus,
Remember me, Jesus, when you come as king.
Jesus said to him,
I promise you that today you will be in paradise with me.
It was about 12 o'clock when the sun stopped shining and darkness covered the whole country until 3 o'clock. And the curtain hanging in the temple was torn in two. Jesus cried out in a loud voice,
Father, into your hands I place my spirit.
He said this and died. The army officer saw what had happened, and he praised God, saying,
Certainly he was a good man.
When the people who had gathered there to watch the spectacle saw what had happened, they all went back home, beating their breasts in sorrow. All those who knew Jesus personally, including the women who had followed him from Galilee, stood at a distance to watch.
And so here we stand on Palm Sunday at the start of the week that we call Holy. There's an expectation in the air as Jesus enters Jerusalem, and the crowds flock to see him with cries of Hosanna. And here we stand at the end of Lent, as we look forward to the Friday that we call Good, and the Easter celebration of life over death, light over darkness, and love over hate. There is hope on the horizon. The story of Palm Sunday is full of clear signs that Jesus is the Messiah. But as we saw, the crowd's chants suggest that they were expecting a different kind of Messiah. The hopes of Palm Sunday were soon dashed, as the king coming to his throne upon a donkey was betrayed, mocked, judged, and executed. His throne was to be the cross of Calvary, his resting place a borrowed tomb, just as his place of birth had been a borrowed room. Hopes dashed, and yet Easter comes. Because in a way, Holy Week is all about love. For us Christians, God's love is expressed at its most powerful upon the cross. Yes, right in the middle, bang in the middle of weakness. Our faith gives no answer to life's challenges. It simply tells of Christ who is with us in all our human experiences, from the best to the worst, our Good Fridays and our Easter days. And as we journey, our God comes with us, ahead of us, alongside us. So, keep up the hosannas. Save us, praising God. Hosanna.